Sometimes it takes having the world turned upside down to better understand what it should look like, the right side up. Good afternoon. Thank you for being with us here in Cape Town today. It's a privilege and an honor to be here. For much of the last 10 years, wealth managers and platforms globally and here in South Africa have benefited from a rise in personal financial wealth, and it resulted from strong asset appreciation and, of course, economic growth. But I think it's fair to say that businesses like us as a platform and our industry specifically haven't been required to invest as significant amount of capital in our own business as did some other industries. But today I'm here to talk to you about how in this world in which we live today, no industry escapes disruption. And we believe that as advice businesses and as a platform business, we need to be well prepared and ready to respond. And I'd love to share some insights on how disruption, if responded to adequately, would immensely benefit your business, your clients, and our industry as a whole. Now, I'm first going to start with some interesting background and a few figures. So today, 2/3 or almost 2/3 of the global population have access to the internet. And if you look at the little round graphs, it shows how the number of internet users, mobile phone users, and active social media users have, during the first 12 months after the start of COVID, grown by faster or by more than the global population. And these numbers, of course, continue to rise. And the next graph is very interesting. It shows how the number of internet users have more than doubled over just a decade. And then if you look at the last two bars on the histogram, it shows how during 2020, or say the first 12 months after COVID started, the number of online users in the world have grown by 7.7%. Now, the first time I looked at the graph, I thought, okay, 7.7%, that looks reasonable. But that's 340 million additional online users globally in just 12 months is astronomical. And then here in South Africa, we've looked for the same number. And closer to home here, we've seen an increase of 1.7 million people being online and being active users of the internet in just 12 months after the start of COVID. So what I want to ask you today, I want to ask a question to the audience. In South Africa, how active do you think we are online as South Africans? So if you have to take a guess, so active online users between the ages of 16 and 64, how many hours do you think we spend on average online every day? 2 hours, 4 hours? Someone maybe wants to venture a guess? 5? Okay, let me give you the answer. So as South Africans, we spend an average of 10.5 hours online. Global research. And this is significantly longer than most countries around the world, which is astronomical. Now, if you think that we spend a third of our time online, and for those of you like me that try and spend a third of my day sleeping, it makes us think differently about how, as an industry, we should shift our businesses to meet our clients where they do spend their time and where they want us to meet them. And then if you build it on a little bit further, I mean, all of us know that South Africa has a younger than average population. Our average age is 28 years of age, and we all know how millennials operate and how they want to engage with us digitally. And believe it or not, our internet speed is actually on par with the rest of the world. Yet, here in South Africa, not only in financial services, but across industries, we see a lower digital adoption rate and much slower e-commerce trends compared to the rest of the world. So this presents opportunities for us as businesses because the digital shift is coming here as well, and our clients will start to shift as they do globally. It's just not here yet. So in our brief time, I'm going to share a few insights on how we at Momentum Wealth believes that as a platform, we could and should work much closer with you as advisors running advice businesses because we share distinct strengths that are different, and we should also jointly leverage technology to reap benefits from these shifts that are happening in our industry and across the globe. And I'm sure I want to start first by saying I hope all of you follow us on social media. And if you don't, please do follow us, and the marketing guys will thank me later. But Momentum Investments on Twitter, and on LinkedIn, because we share a lot of news on the exciting things that we are doing in our business on social media as a way more effective way than just communicating by email. And we have shared with you on email and also on social media about our very exciting partnership with global technology provider FNZ. And today is not the launch, although I'd like to share a lot more on that. I'll have the opportunity to share some brief insights of some of the exciting and new capabilities that we are developing with FNZ. And the focus of our development is really on disruption in our industry, and especially in your lives as the advisor and as the practices that you run. How do we see disruption evolving, and how do we believe as a platform we can help you to be more ready to respond? Maybe just briefly on FNZ, for those of you that haven't read up on them. They are actually the leading provider of global wealth management technology. They've partnered with 150 of the largest financial institutions globally, and their technology underpins savings and investments for more than 20 million clients. So we're very excited to be working with such an esteemed player, and their assets under administration on their tech is currently at $1.5 trillion. It's immense. So a lot of exciting things that are happening, and I'm going to share a little bit of that. Firstly, before I get to that, I just want to share, we work annually with NMG Consulting. Now, NMG used to have only a consulting leg in the UK, but they're also now in South Africa. And we do that by getting on-the-ground insights from our financial advisors. So we ask NMG annually to come out and interview a number of advisors focused specifically on independent advisors across general practitioners, specialist investment advisors, advisors and management teams of networks. And we ask specific questions. Flobella is going to share a little bit of insights from the DFM study and DFM questions. But one of the questions we asked last year, and the study was run between July and September, so very recent. We ask advisors, which part of our industry do you believe is most susceptible to disruption or change? And if disrupted, would add the most benefit to you? And I think the results are not surprising to you, and they weren't certainly not surprising to us either. Advisors have told us that they do expect, and you do expect, big changes to platforms, our technology, what we offer, and how we engage in the industry. You also obviously expect disruption in advice models, and then, of course, in practice management, which is a very topical subject at the moment. So I think when we talk about advice models, and I want to just go there first, I think when you read up about it, it seems that disruption seems to be a lot more modest, or the expectations for change seems to be a lot more modest in advice compared to, say, industries like telecoms or transport. However, you will agree with me that the experience of advice here in South Africa even, over the short term and definitely by 2030, which is now just 8 years away, will look radically different to what it does today. So instead of spending the last 15 minutes that I have on platforms and our disruption, I would love to spend it on just 3 of the disruptors that we expect to see in advice models and advice going forward, and how we as a platform are investing to help you to be ready to respond. And I'm sure you'll agree with many of these. They're well-researched topics, and I'm sure you read about it a lot. So the first trend that I'm going to talk about is that the future of advice will be hyper-personalized. Now, personalized advice is, of course, far more than client-specific reporting or client-specific needs and goals. I think today, as advisors and as platforms certainly, we use segmentation models to better understand clients' needs, their goals, and their ethical beliefs. But increasingly, instead of only segmenting clients on size of wallet or their wealth, we'll have to consider factors like their digital appetite and their needs for self-direction to better understand how to optimize the way in which we engage with them. Future advice models could even use empathetic artificial intelligence to interpret behavior and to meet the right client needs at the right time. And if you want to stretch your mind a little bit further into the future, and actually today at Momentum, we do have research on this. We've got what we call a mind lab. And what the Mind Lab does is it adds passive sensors. Now, of course, for clients, you have to do that with client consent, but they tested with clients and advisors that they call into the Mind Lab to put passive sensors on your brain and actually on your computer screen. And what these passive sensors do is they actually track emotional insights by looking at a client's facial expression, the vocabulary that we use, and the tone of voice. So very interesting technology that are becoming available to ensure that we can better personalize client engagement. Now, increasingly, instead of just thinking about goals and needs, advice will increasingly have to reflect what clients value most. And I think, one example, if we think of all of ourselves, we are all investors in our own rights, right? And we are increasingly, as investors, considering non-financial factors. I'm sure you are also considering ESG factors when allocating your own capital, because these environmental and social and governance factors help us to identify growth opportunities. It also helps us to understand material risks in the investment landscape. All of us know today that ESG risk and climate risk equates investment risk. So these factors are becoming more and more important for us as investors. Now today, with the technology that's available in South Africa, I think it's quite difficult for an investor to know whether your investment portfolio is beneficial to the environment or to the society. And as advisors, you today, I don't think, have broad and easy access to data and technology to help your clients to tell you which of these ESG factors or other personal factors matters to them, and that they would want to have reflected in their investment portfolios, and for you to be able to report back to them on the benefits of their investments on the environment and society. Now, I'm giving ESG as one example. It's not the most important example of personalized advice, but it's one example of where practically I would love to show you how a platform can build the capability and have built capabilities to help you to offer personalized advice to your client that will matter to him or to her. And I'm going to show you a short video of exactly this ESG capability that FNZ has enabled in the UK and will soon enable in Germany and Sweden. And this is exactly one example of how, as a platform, we can help you to offer personalized advice as it relates to ESG in this example to your clients. It's just a brief extract.
Let's take a look and see how FNZ Impact can help investors make more informed decisions. Here, users can select the investment preferences that matter the most to them. And upon completion, users will have personalized their investment preferences, including their sustainability metrics and ethical preferences. Users have the ability to view, at a high level, how their current portfolio scores in terms of sustainability rating. And FNZ Impact also allows users to offset their carbon footprint with just a few clicks. FNZ Impact makes sustainable investing easy. At a glance, investors can compare the ratings of multiple funds and have the option to view the underlying holdings and ratings for each fund. And switching between funds is quick and easy. Users can utilize thematic search terms and set parameters to help them make more sustainable, environmentally, and socially conscious investment decisions, the decisions that matter the most to them. And of course, users continue to have access to all the relevant metrics and performance data at the click of a button. But now, users don't have to compromise when it comes to what matters most to them. They can easily invest in high-performing funds, which also have a positive impact on the world.
It's so interesting, sorry that I can only show a short snippet of the video. The point is not really about ESG only, it's about one example of personalized advice and how the investment industry is evolving in front of our eyes, and how as a platform we need to be forward-looking and ready when you are ready to make use of these capabilities. So I'm going to go on to the next trend, and the next trend is around data. Now, Timo really said, who has the data has the power. And this is also a well-covered topic, and I'm sure all of you will agree that data analytics, algorithms will power the future of advice. And there's so many relevant examples. The first one is the obvious one about client reporting, and how platforms like ourselves sit with immense amount of data and information in our systems that we will increasingly use to further personalize and customize client reporting, reflecting clients' individual goals, their needs, their interaction and transactional history to you. But data and advanced analytics can also enable you to anticipate a client's changing needs, to ensure that you adapt your advice and the solutions ahead of time, before it's even necessary and happening. And analytics can also enable us to help you to know whether the advice you've given have truly contributed to a client reaching or getting closer to her investment goal or not. And where it indicates otherwise, it can provide insights and guidance on how to adapt the portfolio and the solutions. And then I'm going to move on to the second example of data, and that talks to, Jeanette has touched a lot on behavioral finance, but I also just have to mention it briefly. It's so relevant. So the use case for the application of behavioral finance in our business as a retail investment business have been researched for many years. Momentum Investment started to look at the application for a number of years, and we're almost at a place now we are able to turn that capability and the research into a value-added capability to you as the financial advisor. Because only if we are able to make it practical for you and equip it in your hands does it truly have value. Now, Jeanette hasn't said that, so it's interesting. I'm going to share it. But those investor archetypes, the 4 that she's alluded to, have actually been identified by our behavioral finance team by using unsupervised machine learning. And what it does is the platform and predictive analytics can help to empower you with the data to help you to make more rational decisions. Now, we all think we make rational decisions, but because we're humans, we all have these behavioral biases that forces us to make irrational decisions. Now, I'm going to give you one practical example again, else I talk in the air and it's not practical. So, during the financial crisis in 2020, we observed on the platform the number of switches during certain times by certain types of investor archetypes. And we've seen that the number of switches on the Wealth Local platform have increased by a staggering 60% compared to a normal standard year. And interestingly enough, last year it was still at 50% higher than an average year. Now, what these predictive analytics help us to do, it can help us to provide you with the insights to stay invested and to help your clients, despite which investor archetypes they belong to also stay invested. And if we were able to do that effectively during 2020 and help your clients to avoid that switch itch or the so-called behavioral tax, the average return on our local platform would have been 6.5% higher just during that 12 months. So there's real value to be added if we can turn that capability into a value add. So I think, just to close on data certainly have the power to leap humans and to power and strengthen your advice proposition. And I think the only limitation on data is our own limiting beliefs, and we should use it and leverage it to our own advantage. And then I'm going to move on to the last trend. I'm fast running out of time, so I'm going to go quickly. But the last trend is about the blend between humans and technology. And before I get there, I just want to re-emphasize that at Momentum, the broader Momentum, not only investments, we truly and deeply believe that humans will remain at the core of client relationships. And although AI is becoming very good at many human-like jobs, artificial intelligence today serves clients in stores internationally and some global banks, we don't see artificial intelligence ever replacing the value of an in-person financial advisor. And even as we build our platform of the future, we don't believe that technology like AI would ever replace the value that a contact center agent would add if that agent shifts from processing to value-adding relationships and engagements with client and financial advisors. So I think the COVID pandemic has certainly proven that these hybrid and blended models are here to stay. And even if you look at the 2020 Ernst & Young Global Wealth Research Report, it says that very soon, it talks about soon, which is usually between 2 and 3 years, client interactions in financial services will happen only 50% by advice-led channels, and the rest will be clients that are looking for new digital formats and looking for new ways to self-direct. So we should leverage these technologies to unlock efficiencies in our businesses and even, as Jeanette has mentioned, increase client experience because the technology is there to complement us and it doesn't take away any of the value that we add. And I think in South Africa, many of the platforms, including ourselves, have started to implement these hybrid or blended models. And we've seen that the adoption rate is still fairly low. And I'll give one practical example again on our new business process. So today, if new business, and the majority of our new business still arrives via email or paper form, it takes an average of 7 days for that new business case to be accepted and invested in the market, depending on the types of funds or the outstanding requirements. But today, your office is able to submit that same new business case to us digitally online, and the average acceptance rate since we've gone live is 20 minutes. No errors, no delays, and therefore no need to follow up. So I would like to encourage you and your offices to please make use of these digital capabilities to see how we can shift our businesses jointly. And for those of you that are tree huggers like me, I did a quick calculation. I also like numbers. But if we were able to just get our new business over the last year online, we could have saved 32 trees for our children and 1.3 tons of paper that our contact center has to process. So there's a lot of benefit for much more than just business value, but also for the environment. So I think I'm going to close. I'm running out of time, but I think the point is, and that I'd like to close on, is these are a few areas of expected disruption in advice models and how we as a platform is investing for the future to ensure that we are looking ahead and that we are ready to enable and equip you when these trends changes your lives and the way in which your clients expect you to give advice and to serve them. And this is part of what we are doing with FNZ. We are building a fully automated local and international platform which is enabled for clients, financial advisors, and discretionary fund managers. And we are leveraging global technology and bringing it closer to home in the South African context where it's got relevance and value to you. And therefore, I would also like to ask you that if you are interested in joining our pilot group early next year, that you'll reach out to your investment consultant, because what we build needs to be important and matter to you, and it needs to solve what you need in your practice. Else we failed you, and we're very excited to do that. The technology of platforms in future will look radically different to what they do today. And therefore, it's critically important for any platform partner that you work with to make the capital investment now, to ensure that we are ready with technology that's agile and that's able to respond to this disrupted world that we're living. And we're going to share more and more as we journey. We've already started to build our platform. One of the advisors have asked me, are you building it? No, our platform is currently being built, the first part in Boston in the US. But we are working with requirements, but leveraging global skills and technology. So very exciting time for us. But in closing, I would like to thank you. Thank you for partnering with Momentum Wealth. Thank you for trusting us with your business and with your clients' money. I'm personally extremely excited about the future and what it holds for you as a business to accelerate your own digital transformation, unlock efficiencies, but also benefit from the capital investment that we are making to bring future capabilities to you in your office that's relevant to you. But whilst we are doing that, I'd also like to give you my commitment that we are not stopping our focus or our investment on our current platforms. We have made a strategic decision to continue to invest and not stop investing in the platforms that you are using today. So we're continuing to automate our processes fully straight through and to build out now also our digital suite on our international platform. And we will continue to do that. We won't stop. So thank you. Stay with us. We believe that with us, the future will be more certain. Thank you very much.